Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Entertainment Now podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
And like always, you can, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give us the old thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, drop us a comment, all that YouTube fun stuff that you're supposed to do on there. If you're listening to this podcast through your favorite podcast catcher or podcatcher, whatever you call them, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, there's a whole bunch of them. But make sure you go on there. If you're able to give us a review, leave us a review. Of course, subscribe to the channel and all that stuff too. But so what's been going on, Ian? What kind of news do you have to bring to the table for us today?
Ozzy retired from touring last week.
For what, the third time? I remember when he
Well,
had
this
the
is for
No
real,
More
though.
Tours tour back in like 1992.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even classify that because it was just to me, everyone saw that as like a final tour thing, and I guess it was meant to be, but it was also a play on the title of the No More Tears album.
Yeah.
So I just kind of saw it as like more of a play on that. But to be fair, he didn't tour as a solo artist. I mean, he did, but he started Ozfest.
Yeah.
So he just did that. But this is for, medical reasons. This isn't like because he wanted to do, because he's had the tour planned. It's been supposed to have happened 3 years ago. It's No More Tours 2, which was supposed to be his like swan song.
Yeah.
But he can't travel.
Yeah, it sucks. I never got a chance to see him. I was actually planning on seeing him next time he toured. But yeah, I never got a chance to see him, which kind of sucks. But I'm not surprised about the announcement. I mean, Ozzy's been in poor health for several years now.
Right. Well, it's the broken back thing that really did him in, because he just can't.
Because he can't travel.
Right. He can't travel. He can't really move really well. Because when he's on stage, when he did that football halftime show with Tony Iommi,
yeah,
he was good. He was great. He was on, but he wasn't.
He didn't move.
He didn't move. He probably even had some kind of a brace holding him up.
Possibly.
But but you can't do a tour that way.
No.
So
I mean, you can, but you're going to be. You're going to be in pain. So I'm sure you'll see him live again. But I think they're going to be like one-off performances.
Yeah, the press release, I read the whole press release, and it said that Ozzy and his people are looking at ways to do something. Whether, I don't know, they didn't specify, but I'm thinking maybe like doing like live online kind of stuff, something you can do from home.
No, from what I understand, from what I've read, I think they're more so looking at where he can do shows where he doesn't have to like tour.
Crowd.
So like he'll do a show in Los Angeles, and then 2 or 3 months later he'll fly out to New York and do one show.
Right.
And then fly back home. So where he's not like on a tour bus, or he's not, night after night after night flying somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that's more than likely that's kind of what we'll see, at least for the short term. I think he might probably do some shows like that and then finally just kind of call it, a day, which I'm fine with. Look, man, Ordinary Man is a fantastic fucking album. Patient Number 9 is a fantastic fucking album. So if that's all Ozzy does is just stay at home and put out some more albums, I'm fine with that.
Me too, 100%.
I mean, I know a lot of people were disappointed in Patient Number 9. A lot of people did not like the vocals on the album,
which to me sound great, and they sound like Ozzy. There's nothing.
They do. Like, this is the thing that a lot of people just don't understand about music is people are like, well, it's auto-tuned. Well, guess what? Ordinary Man was auto-tuned. Scream was auto-tuned. Black Rain was auto-tuned. Everything that's been made in the last 25 years is fucking auto-tuned.
Yeah, Black Sabbath 13 was auto-tuned.
Exactly. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, like if I'm a musician putting out an album, why would I not utilize that?
Right.
You know, if
Really,
I because all it does is all they're doing is there's a fine line there because
right,
what you're doing with autotune is you're taking out the imperfections in the vocals or in the because you can auto tune guitars, you can auto tune drums, you can do all sorts, you can auto tune anything. The
right,
problem is you run into is when it's utilized too much as too
right.
clean. You know, when you lose all the imperfection in the vocals, that's when you get this like
Robotic sound.
well that's like well the like the T-Pain robotic sound digitized voice. That's like a like the extreme version of autotune.
Mm,
But you get like you know when you lose all the imperfection is when you it sounds too produced.
right.
So I didn't really notice that on
No.
Ordinary Man, on Patient Number 9. I mean, you can I mean I could tell that they're auto tuned,
Mm,
but like I said, everything's auto tuned. You know,
right.
the new Tears for Fears album is fucking auto tuned. The new Megadeth album is fucking auto tuned. When 72 Seasons comes out, it's going to be auto tuned. Just
Right.
because you know if you're you know if you're like I said if you're releasing an album and I'm the lead singer and I do a track, you know why would I not take out some of the imperfections if I'm
Right.
like pitchy on a part? Why would I not fix that?
Right. And that's what I was gonna say. It's more about fixing things like that. Little
Pitch
pitch
correction, things like that.
pitch. Yeah. So but it's also true that it's uh there's a fine line there.
There's a
I
fine
don't
line with anything music. Like
right,
when
right.
I don't understand why people get all up in arms over auto tuning
Mm-hmm.
when it's really no different than distortion on a guitar. It's just another
Right,
effect.
right,
I'm going to tell you right now, like if you were to listen to, you pick any song recorded over the last, you know, 20-25 years, any great song you can think of, I guarantee you, if you were to sit down right now and listen to just the vocal track the way it was recorded, without any effect or any EQing done to it, no echo, no auto tune, it would not sound good.
right.
I guarantee you, it would not sound good. The
Mm,
stuff you hear on an album largely is done to on the production end of that track.
Any artist that's released a making of video, where they're making an album, specifically with the vocals, if they show a clip of them recording the vocals, it's obvious right there
Yeah,
because they're
yeah,
recording the vocals and you're hearing it and you're like, that's not what it sounds like on the album.
no,
Because, like you said, it's cleaned up.
it's
It's fine
produced.
tuned. It's fine tuned. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
You want a live sound, go and listen to them live.
yeah.
But there's also a reason why, if you think back even 50 years ago, and you listen to Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, and then you listen to those songs live, there's a difference
There's
because
difference.
it was
Yeah,
produced for the
but
record, and there's a live version.
the other thing you have to remember is even with tracks off of say House of the Holy, you know, the even the live version of that is not like the way it's originally sung. You know, it's
Right.
still technically produced through that live version. You know, the
Oh,
you
right,
know, they're
right, right,
adding echo to it. They're adding, you know, layers of EQing to that to the vocals as you sing it.
right,
You know, so
right.
it's not
Because live albums are produced as well.
yes.
Yeah.
What the live show that you're watching live, if you're sitting in the stadium, is being produced. Like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, it's being filtered through
music is produced. If you were
the
just to sit there
cable.
and, like I said, listen to somebody play, it's not the same. It's not going to sound the same as what you're going to hear, you know, on the album, doing a live show, doing whatever. That's just how
Right.
music is. And I think a lot of times it's like people just don't understand how music gets from the artist to the consumer.
Right. Right.
Um, I don't know. It's
And
just
they should get it because it takes 2 years to record a fucking album.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
exactly.
So
But yeah, I've never understood the argument that people have with against autotune. I don't know. It's like I said, it's an effect. It's probably the same people who's, you know, parents or grandparents were probably the ones that were bitching and complaining the first time that Bob Dylan picked up an electric guitar.
Right.
You know, same thing. Same thing. You're just
Right.
bitching about, evolution of music is what it is.
Right. Well, to be
That's
fair,
what autotune is.
I used to think autotune sucked too, because my impression of it and my understanding of it was that robotic, almost synthesized vocals. I thought,
The T-Pain version of that.
right,
But I'm
I
gonna tell you
thought
right
that
now,
was
like you
autotune.
need to be able to carry a tune for the most part to even do that. Like, and I think T-Pain really proved that. If you hear T-Pain sing, that motherfucker can sing his ass off. Like he is able to sing. He used that as kind of almost like a gimmick
Mm,
to get when he first started. But the guy, he was on one of those singing shows. I think he was on one of those what's the one where they dress up, you don't know who it is?
Mass Singer.
The Masked Singer. He won the first season of that. No one knew who the fuck he was. Again, he's got an awesome voice. He can sing. He just utilizes that robotic version, or the over the top exaggerated version of autotune. But you still have to
Right.
be able to carry. It's not going to take autotune. Can't take a terrible singer and make them a great singer.
Right.
Autotune can take an okay to good singer and make them better or
Mm,
sound better, sound to
right.
make them sound more consistent. Um, but it can't take a terrible singer and make them, the greatest singer of all time.
Yeah.
That's not the way that program works.
Yeah, and as far as patient number 9 goes, I just listened to it again, yeah, yesterday, and there there's times where I'm listening to it and I'm thinking that's what Ozzy sounded like in 1984.
Yeah,
And that you can't make that happen through
yeah.
technology. Not yet anyway.
I mean,
It's there. But my point is that all Autotune did was take what he was doing and just a little bit higher. Okay, there it is. That's the Ozzy of 1983,
yeah,
84.
yeah. I think, like I said before, I think it creates especially like as a singer ages, their voice changes and it
Absolutely.
becomes they're not able to sing consistently like they used to be able to. So it
Right.
creates more consistent tone in their vocals, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like it's still fucking Ozzy singing the song.
Right.
It's not like this is an AI created vocal performance,
Right. Yeah.
which
That's
we
what
will
I meant.
which we will get there eventually.
We'll get there in the next 10
Well,
years.
we will actually. They actually already do it. Like
Right.
it's. I remember what it was. I remember if it was a podcast or a YouTube video or something I was watching within the last several years where they were talking about this, and they're like the AI created vocals are already here. They
Right.
it's something that no one uses though. Um, if you're an Elvis Presley fan, you're not gonna. Are you really gonna go out and buy a new Elvis song if it's not really him singing it?
Right.
If it's an AI created vocal performance. I mean, some people might for the novelty of it, but
Right.
I don't. I think we're kind of a far off from accepting something like that.
Right.
Um, I will say that I got into using ChatGPT just recently, which if
Yeah.
you haven't used it, check the thing out because it's pretty fucking cool. I actually went on there and because it's got a message box. What you do is you type in instructions, and it's an AI program, and it does whatever you want it to do. So I think what I typed up was um, write a uh, a sad song in a pop punk style, and it spit out the fucking song. It spit out all the lyrics,
Mhm.
and it put the guitar chords on there too.
Really.
It
So
wrote the song.
I messed around with it in between our recording,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have to discuss it after the show because I was not impressed.
No.
No, no.
Why is that?
So because I was like, well, I just want to try it out because we only had we record 2 shows, so we had like 15 minutes. So I was like, I was typing something just to see what it. So I typed in review of The Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull,
Uh oh.
and I did it twice, worded differently. And
Yeah.
both times it said that the Zealot Gene was a song off of Crest of a Knave in 1987.
What?
Both times it said it. I was like, what?
Well, let me see if let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
Let me do write a
See, I didn't put right. I said put
review
I just put review.
for the album The Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull. Okay.
Mhm.
I came up with there.
I just put review. I didn't put write a review. I just put review.
Okay. Let me just try that then.
Mm-hmm.
Review the album The Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull. It came up with an error the first time I tried it.
Mm-hmm. It didn't for me. It came.
Oh, you want to know why? Okay. When Zealot Gene came out last year, right?
2022.
This only has information up to 2021
in
it. I think that's why.
But it's not before 2021. It didn't. That song didn't exist. That title didn't exist.
Yeah, it even says that the information is not, 100% correct because it's an AI program creating it. So
yeah.
But you can put in there, how about give me another album.
Stormwatch.
Or the album. Was Stormwatch all one word?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oops, Halifax spelled it correctly.
Mm.
All right. Oh, this is spitting out something long here. It's like doing like a track by track breakdown
Oh.
of Stormwatch.
Okay.
Stormwatch is the 12th album by British progressive rock band Jethro Tull, released in 1979. The album features a more polished and sophisticated sound, Jesus Christ, compared to their previous work, incorporating, I'm trying to read it as it's writing it, incorporating elements of progressive rock, folk, and hard rock.
Okay.
The opening track, North Sea Oil, sets the tone for the album with its driving rhythm and intricate guitar work. Dark Ages and Swarm Foreign, I don't know why I couldn't say that either, showcase Jethro Tull's signature blend of folk and rock, while the epic Elegy highlights the band's ability to craft multi-part suites. The album also features what?
Dark Ages is the epic multi-part suite. Elegy is an instrumental that's 3 minutes long.
Oh. The album also features the haunting ballad Home and the upbeat Orion. Ian Anderson's flute work is top notch, and the rest of the band's musicianship is equally impressive, with Martin Barr's guitar and John Glasscock's bass standing out in particular. The production is clean and clear, allowing each instrument to shine through. In conclusion, Stormwatch is a solid effort from Jethro Tull and a must listen for fans of progressive rock. While it may not have the same level of commercial success as some of their earlier albums, it is still an essential addition to any Jethro Tull collection. It says that the information is not
always accurate. Yeah, I read it because you had to sign up for it. It gave you all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but it's that's what. So we were talking beforehand. Is like, a lot of this I think could, like, if I'm running a newspaper or at least like the sports section of a. Why am I gonna hire a bunch of people that can write reviews of a game when I can just like ask an AI program to do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least right now, it still lacks the personal touch.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, when you think of like journalism, especially like sports journalism, you're not supposed to have any opinion in it. It's supposed to be just like factual what happened, and that's a great way to kind of
I don't know.
do
I get
that.
the impression that sports journalism, in many ways, I mean, obviously you can't like, well, this is my team, so I'm gonna, but there's always like, in order to project the idea of like the underdog or whatever, to give that the human side to it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like a bias in terms of the reporting. I'm just talking about like you know
Product placement. If you're watching the YouTube video, I'm
yeah,
sitting here eating
yeah,
my McDonald's French fries.
yeah. Product placement. They better fucking pay us. They can afford it.
Yeah, really. But
And we cost a lot less than an ad on the Super Bowl.
touche. You can pay me just a fraction of the $2 million you pay for that 30-second ad.
Right.
Just a fraction.
Hell, I'd be happy with like $100,000 in free food for life.
But no, it's a pretty cool. Like I said, mess around with it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I've
I'll play around with it.
yeah, like I said, I want to say it's 2020 or 2021 is like the most recent that it goes with information.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what yeah, but as far as like Ozzy goes, I don't know. It's just I don't have a problem with him touring, not stopping touring, because
Yeah.
like even if he is able to go on and tour, are you really going to enjoy the performance you get?
I mean, like I said, vocally, I think he can do it. It's just, Ozzy
Yeah,
has a
but
stage persona. He has a stage
exactly. That's what I was
presence.
kind of getting. It'd be like
Yeah.
seeing Alice without the show.
Right.
The music's still gonna be good, but the theatrical aspect
Right.
of Alice's show is part of the performance.
And
Same
I
thing
can
with
tell you,
Ozzy.
I have an example with the Alice thing. I saw him when he was opening for Motley Crue in 2014 during their final tour. And his obviously he was he wasn't the support act, but he was the
Yeah.
special guest. So his show was very truncated. It was probably just a little over an hour. And
Okay. That's short.
and his stage show was obviously truncated, and it wasn't as enjoyable as seeing him back in 20. When did I see him? 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
When he was the main headliner and his show was like closer to 2 hours, and he had a much more elaborate show. It was much more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. Yep. Plus, I don't want the guy to die on stage. I know he'd be willing to do it,
No.
but
No.
and I guess in the grand scheme, if Ozzy has to go out, I guess I'd rather him go out on stage than, die an old man in a bed, because he's Ozzy.
Yeah.
He's
To be
cheated.
completely honest,
He's cheated
he's
death like 50
I
times.
was gonna say he's been cheating death since 1978. So I mean,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know,
So if that's the case, I would hate for him to go out like a chump,
yeah.
like the rest of us.
But anyway, that's not what we came to talk about today. Today we're talking
Yeah.
about. We actually have a topic we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So we a couple weeks ago we talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where they're going to be going. Well, the DC Extended Universe, which is what it used to be called,
There's no more.
is no more, and I think it's a good thing. Because I think one of the big issues that DC, one of the huge mistakes that DC had was not having a plan.
Right. Well, they had a plan. They wanted to make $1 billion plus movie, and they thought Justice League would be it, but they didn't want to do all the work that Marvel had done to get their $1 billion Avengers movie.
Yes.
They just wanted to jump right in.
Yeah. So in November they announced that James Gunn. I don't remember who the other guy is. I guess I should probably.
Saffron.
Uh, Peter Safran.
Yeah,
So
Saffron.
they're both unveiled as the new heads of DC Studios.
Oh, okay. Well, just the
So,
DCU and everything I read.
yeah. Well, they're creating, they're rebranding it. The DC universe is what the movies, the cinematic aspect of it, but it's actually DC Studios is what because it's like same with Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios.
Right.
So James Gunn, Peter Safran, they're taking over as the heads of DC Studios, and they've laid out a 10-year plan At least
what I
they
read,
haven't
it's flexible.
they haven't announced what the entire plan is.
Right.
But they're going to be doing chapters. Same thing.
Yep.
So Marvel does phases.
Phases. Yep.
DC is going to be doing chapters. The first chapter that they're doing is called
Gods
what,
and Monsters.
yeah, Gods and Monsters is what it is, which
Mhm.
I think is kind of a terrible name, but
No, because it plays off of the source material.
yeah,
So
yeah. So the chapter one, as far as the films go, you got Superman Legacy, which James Gunn is writing, and he's also going to produce it.
mhm.
I think James Gunn is producing everything. See, that's the one thing that DC messed up on originally is they didn't have the vision from one person
Right.
for everything. Like, because that's what Marvel has done for
Kevin Feige.
15 years. Yeah, Kevin runs everything. Everything goes through Kevin.
Right.
Every idea goes through Kevin. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything will go through James Gunn and Peter Safran, and they're going to spearhead everything. Everything's
Right.
going to go through their vision. So they're finally setting things up the way that they should have set things up, a decade ago. I mean,
Right.
when did Man of Steel come out?
2013.
2013. So yeah, it was a decade ago.
Yep.
Had they set up this same way, then I think the DC EU would have been in a very different place right now.
I totally agree. And as much as I love Zack Snyder and I love Man of Steel, I actually like that if Zack Snyder's version of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Zack Snyder's version of that, the Snyderverse as they call it. I like those movies. I like those films.
They're good movies.
Fantastic. But the darkness is just it's you can have darkness.
But that's always been DC though. DC has had that darker edge to it.
Only with Batman.
Yeah.
Superman before this was Christopher Reeve, so that was never dark.
Yeah.
But that being said, and you can have that darkness, it was too much. It was just too much. Even to Zack Snyder's color palette and his what do they call his tones. He took the color out of everything in post-production intentionally. It was part of his vision, but it doesn't really work. And to be fair, some of the stories were a little could be argued a little weak. But I think, like you said, there was no plan. There was no set idea. Batman v Superman was supposed to just be Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, let's get Batman in there. We need to get Batman in there. We need more money. Man of Steel didn't make that much. Made enough, but it didn't make that much. Let's get Batman in there. Okay, so he does Batman v Superman. Well, look at what Avengers is doing. We need to do that. Get Justice League going. Too much studio interference is my point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I hope that James Gunn I hope that the studio allows James Gunn to do what he needs to do as being somebody that came from the MCU. I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy works without James Gunn.
No, it doesn't. It was a tier C comic.
Yeah.
And he turned it into a tier A comic.
Yeah.
Well, tier A property.
Yeah. So I hope that the studio gives him the leeway and allows his vision to come through. Because I'd love to see, DC thrive the way that Marvel has.
Right.
Especially since I'm not as familiar with a lot of the DC stuff as I am familiar with the Marvel stuff.
Okay. Well, from what I read too, they're also doing this is kind of smart. Everything that's come before is still in the universe, but it's in an Elseworlds section or a Tomorrowverse, I think was the other one. I don't know what that one is. But that includes all the television stuff because Greg Berlanti had basically it's called the Arrowverse. He had created essentially a Marvel version universe with the television shows, with crossovers and everything, and it was quite successful. and he was working on a Green Lantern show, but I think with what James Gunn wants to do, it wasn't conducive to what Greg Berlanti was doing. So
Yeah.
they parted ways. But all that stuff, it's still there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
there, but this is our Elseworlds.
They're not going to ignore it. And they've also said that there's going to be a lot of overlap from the DCEU properties to the DCU properties.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that, you know, those same actors, unfortunately, you know, I think.
Well, Henry Cavill is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Which
they
I thought
wanna
he
go
was a
with the
great
young-
Superman.
He was
They want to go with
fantastic.
somebody younger.
You want to go with somebody younger, yeah. Which is fair because Henry Cavill's like 40. He's our age. He's 40, 42 or something like that.
So the DCU is going to start out with Creature Commandos, which I'm not familiar with this at all.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either. It might be it could be, but it's an animated show.
It is going to be an animated show, and there's no time frame given for it. But they said that's going to
in pre-production right now. They haven't even cast anybody yet. So
no, and it's going to be released through HBO Max.
Right.
It's going to be HBO Max show. The first actual movie is going to be Superman Legacy.
Yep. In 2025.
July 11th, 2025. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be interested to see who they cast in that. You know, it's also they also said that there's going to be Robert Pattinson's going to be doing another Batman movie, but it's not going to be part of the DCU.
Right. It's part of its own universe. It's part of that Elseworld universe.
Yes.
Which is fine. But as a result, I think he might only get one more movie.
Because they'll do just the two?
Just the two, instead of a full trilogy, which I think Matt Reeves had planned. So who knows? If the Batman 2 does the numbers that the first Batman did, or better, I think they'll do it just because of the money, but which is fine with me because I agree. I really liked that movie.
I thought it was really good. I thought Robert Pattinson did a really good job with it. I liked the way he played Batman.
Yes.
I wasn't thrilled about the way he played Bruce Wayne.
Right. Which is my argument for Christian Bale. I thought his Bruce Wayne was spot on. I thought his Batman
a lot of people have Christian Bale as their favorite Batman. But I don't get that. No. You know,
mine is Michael Keaton. It'll always be Michael Keaton. But Ben Affleck and then Robert Pattinson and then Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Because I really liked Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought his Batman was fantastic. Yeah.
I wish Val Kilmer would have been given a better movie. Because I think Val Kilmer could have done a better job. After watching his documentary and like seeing like how much frustration he went through making that movie.
Yeah. He got a better movie than George Clooney got.
That is true. That is true. And they're both really good actors, but like Val Kilmer, I remember him talking about it in the documentary, which was, you know, like early on in the process of making that Batman movie, he realized he was not the star of that movie.
Right.
He was not written to be the star of that movie. He wasn't cast to be the star of that movie. And the way the movie was going to play out was he was going to be a side piece character. Now, I think he mailed in some of it because of it. There was a lot of restrictions, and he said he couldn't even move in that damn suit.
Right.
So, I think the suit really kind of hampered his ability, his relationship with the other actors. I don't know.
Tommy Lee Jones was not pleasant to Jim Carrey on that movie.
No, but Jim Carrey was the star of that movie.
Right.
I think that, and Val Kilmer said that was made very clear to him early on. The Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey were going to be the stars.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and I think, going back to Batman '89, that's kind of how it was with Jack Nicholson too, but Jack Nicholson didn't
He
play it
didn't
that way.
demand the spotlight
No, in fact,
like
he took a pay cut. Now, granted, he
yeah,
got the back end, which
yeah,
some rumors say he got almost $90 million for the
yeah,
back end, which is just unbelievable. But he, from all accounts, he went into that as I'm playing a character in this movie with other actors who are playing characters in this
yeah,
movie. The money part of it was a side
yeah,
thing. Jack Nicholson was the star of the movie,
yeah,
though, because his name is above Michael Keaton's in
yeah.
the. And the same thing happened with Marlon Brando in Superman. He's in that movie for like 15 minutes, and he's the star of that movie.
Yeah. But the thing is, like with Jim Carrey, he's uh more so than anyone else in that movie, his persona on screen just takes so
Overshadows,
much of overshadows everything else in that movie.
right?
You know.
Which is
Some and
fine, but
some
it's
and I think there's equal parts to blame for the writing, equal parts for the acting, and equal parts blame for the way the movie is directed.
mhm,
You know, they were trying to capitalize on Jim Carrey's fame at that time.
right.
So
Yeah, and Joel Schumacher is a great director, but I don't think he was a good Batman director.
no,
Yeah. So, yeah. I think those movies were doomed to fail, and just from the beginning, I say that, but Batman Forever actually was not a failure. It was a huge success.
yeah, it was.
So, Batman and Robin was a failure, but Batman
Yes.
Forever was not a
And I
failure.
don't think Batman and Robin was that terrible of a movie either, but
Uh, it's not a good movie.
I think it's definitely I think it's the weakest of the Batman movies
I think
in the
it's the weakest
franchise.
comic book movie ever. Well, that's not
I
true.
wouldn't say that.
Steel is probably the weakest with Shaquille O'Neal. Um, but yeah, that all being said, if I don't even like watching those last two Batman movies, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
If I go back and watch old Batman movies, I watch the two Michael Keaton ones, and that's it.
yeah.
So
But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see moving forward what James Gunn does with these. I think it's really gonna come down to who plays those roles.
yeah, and I'm actually extremely fascinated because in the article I read, they focus on. He says we're focusing on the big three: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
and it's not official, but he did say that he never said Gal Gadot is not going to be Wonder Woman. Henry Cavill, yes, she's not been officially discounted from this
Yeah.
series. But what I'm interested in is it's really a a brave move. Superman makes perfect sense. That should be starting off any DC universe.
Yeah.
But his Batman is a Batman and Damian Wayne Robin movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
right.
it's going to be a
That's right.
father son movie because Damian Wayne is Bruce Wayne's son.
Son. Yep.
And he plays Robin in the comics as well.
Yeah.
But he's much darker Robin because he was actually raised by Ra's al Ghul,
Yeah.
his grandfather. So that's fascinating. Jumping right to that. Second, Supergirl, a Supergirl
Which
movie,
that's gonna be the fourth movie.
right? Which I'm a Superman universe fan. I've always liked the Superman comics. I've always liked the Supergirl comics. And I really enjoyed the Supergirl TV show most of the time. It had its issues. There's no question there, but for the most part, I really enjoyed what they were doing with that. I
Yeah.
even like the Helen Slater Supergirl movie from 1984, and I might be one of like 5 people in the whole world who like that movie.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked because it's not a big name property, which it seems like that's kind of what they're doing. They're doing the Superman,
But
they're doing the Batman, they're doing the Lanterns, but I think that's a TV show. But they're hitting the big names. Supergirl is not she's a B list. She's not A list.
yeah.
There's other characters who might be considered A list above her, and they're going for that. And I think that's brave and smart. but it could also be a problem. I don't know.
It's interesting that they're doing Woman of Tomorrow though, because Woman of Tomorrow is the comic the Supergirl comic book series from last year, 2022, is when so there's like
Which I haven't read. So
yeah,
yeah,
so they're it's interesting they're using this existing property to base the Supergirl movie off of.
right.
So
Well, that's another thing I read is that it sounds like they're doing a lot of going back to the source material, which is another mistake I think the DC movies have always made, is they've strayed away from the source material. Whereas if you
yeah,
look at like Marvel, they're not copying it, but they're definitely using that same
they're
premise.
heavily using it.
Yeah, and that's what DC should have been doing all along too.
Yeah,
And it looks like that's what they're going to be doing now, and I'm all for it. I'm all in.
absolutely. Why not utilize that material you already
Right.
have?
Right. There's a reason why people like this stuff. There's a reason why these characters resonate regardless of what medium they're in. It's
Yeah,
because those old stories had something to say or connected to people in a certain way. So why not utilize that if you want to connect to people on a much larger scale?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. But just kind of run through the movies though. First is going to be Superman Legacy. Then there's going to be The Authority, which I'm not familiar with that either.
No, I mean
The
I'm
Brave
familiar
and
with
the
the
Bold.
comic, but not
Yeah.
overall. Yeah.
Third is The Brave and the Bold, which sounds like a uh
Soap opera?
sounds like a soap opera.
But that's the Batman and Batson movie.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Okay. And then fourth is going to be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and then Swamp Thing is going to be what ends
The Gods and
chapter
Monsters,
one.
chapter one. Yep. And there's some TV shows and stuff in there as well, and animated stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be the DCU is going to incorporate movies, TV, comic books, animated series. It's going to have video games. It's going to be everything tied into this DCU, which it should be.
Right, right.
Why have all these separate different entities? Just combine it
Yeah.
all and just kind of go forward with one vision.
Right. Well, to be fair, Marvel's comic stuff is separate from their movie stuff, which I actually think is because you
Yes,
can't
and no.
you can't have a story in a movie that you would have had to have read the comic for, because most
Yeah,
people aren't going to read the comics.
yeah,
So, I mean, having a separation in terms of like storylines is fine. I mean, as long as they do that, that's what it should be.
yeah,
But being part of a whole, studio, DC studio, kind of like what they were doing with their animated films, because they had a whole like universe of animated films too, which were
yeah,
separate from the comic division, but they were obviously taking from in many ways they were like remaking full comic stories in animated form
yeah.
with tweaks and stuff. um so like they did the Killing Joke, and they did um what was the other one they did?
There are a
The
couple of them.
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah,
And they did the Death of Superman storyline, which actually their newer version of that was fantastic, because they actually did his death, and then they did a whole separate movie of his rebirth, which was the way it should have been done. So yeah, I mean and I think they're going to continue with that too, based on what I was reading. They're not That's kind of up in the air how that's going to work, but some of those movies now may actually be tying into the movies that they're the live action movies what they're
yeah,
doing. And I
yeah.
think that's brilliant. They should have been doing that all along. So, because you
But
can have like intermediate stories that can help to boost plot lines and
yeah,
tell stories that you can't tell in a 2 hour 10-minute movie,
exactly.
or set up with have a setup for. You do an animated movie that's 75-90 minutes, and it's a little cheaper. I mean, animation's expensive, but it's not like a movie budget. So you do that 75-90 minute movie with some plot points that set up the movie, so when you get to the movie you can get right into the movie, in terms of storytelling.
So that's gonna be it for the TV. So if the television series, you got Creature Commandos, which is gonna be first. You've got Waller, which I don't know what Waller is.
It's the character that what's her name plays in Suicide Squad, Amanda Waller.
Oh, okay, okay. So you got that. You got Lanterns, which is going to be the Green Lantern,
and they're going to have Hal Jordan and what's the other one? Steve.
I don't remember what his name is. Yeah,
but they're going to have the two human Green Lanterns, which I think is a brilliant idea to
do. Paradise Lost, and then Booster Gold is going to be the final show in the Chapter 1 series.
Right. And we should add, because I did read this, the Blue Beetle movie that's coming out, because that's been filmed already.
Yeah.
The rumor is that will actually be integrated into this Chapter 1 as well eventually.
Okay.
Booster Gold may be introduced in that film.
Gotcha.
They just didn't want to announce it now, but Blue Beetle will probably be part of that.
Yeah.
That first chapter as well.
And apparently there's also going to be a Ben Affleck project in the DC.
I read that too, but I wasn't sure what was going on. But I think they
haven't announced anything.
They owe him something.
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever he wants to do, if he wants to direct or whatever, because they screwed Henry Cavill too. They owe him something as well. But Ben Affleck really got screwed on double duty, triple duty, writing, directing, and starring.
Yeah. So I'm very optimistic moving forward with the DCU. I think they're gonna right a lot of the wrongs of the last decade or so.
Right. And they're doing it the right way. You have to start over. You have to just kind of start
absolutely
from scratch.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. And I think I don't know, it's gonna be good. I'm interested to see what they do. Starting with I guess, well, I've got HBO Max, so I'll be able to watch the first series of it. But that's gonna be their kind of like launching off point.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious. I want to see what this creature, what is it?
Creature Commandos.
Yeah. I'm gonna do some looking into it too and see where they derive from the comics.
Yeah. But I don't know, you got questions or comments, you can email us at entnowpod@gmail.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, leave us a comment about what you think about the DCU moving forward. And that's all we got. Until next time,
talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the rain.